We're back from our vacation, chaps, and we are playing catch up. And the Incredible Hulk, the Ultimate Hulk, goes full Demon Slayer in this arc. It's amazing. So, what this does is this picks up with basically Tony Stark, right? He's really Iron Lad, but you can just call him Iron Man for the sake of simplicity. That he is effectively putting together the entire Ultimates team. Now, if you guys need to get caught up, as always, you'll find a playlist at the end of this video. But what he's doing is he's leading them to this facility where in effect is called a damage control facility, which is a great thing, right? Because remember, the Ultimate Universe is different from the main Marvel Universe, so some of the things that you're familiar with are essentially reworked in this universe. And instead of damage control being this government-sanctioned organization that goes around cleaning up after superhero battles, instead, damage control is basically a holding facility. It's not that dissimilar from the Raft in the main Marvel Universe, where they hold prisoners who are superpowered villains more often than not. And so in this roster, you've got She-Hulk, you got America Chavez, Captain America, Thor, Sif. Some of these characters have been introduced from the videos that we've already covered. I want to say issue number 5, we didn't necessarily cover. I think we missed that one, so we'll have to go back. But that's where some of these others come from. The long and short is that they are, for the most part, characters you're familiar with. You do have the Human Torch, but it's not Johnny Storm. We know he's dead. It's the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond, so he's basically an android. But the reality here is that there are over a dozen superpowered prisoners inside this facility. So it would be an amazing ability to free those guys and then have them join the Ultimates, because at this point, it's really just Iron Man rallying and marshaling forces trying to beef up the superhero community. And so where you initially have a few questions here, right? Ant-Man asked things like, should we really be talking outside of a super secret facility like this? Like they're gonna know we're coming? The response of Iron Man is like, we've disabled their ability to monitor us. There is a little concern about the idea of hand agents showing up. In the main Marvel Universe, the Hand are basically just like a mystical ninja organization, right? They can resurrect each other from the dead and that kind of a thing. In the Ultimate Universe, the Hand are actually a kind of a police force, right? An underground secret police force that was established by the maker, Evil Reed Richards, when he caused this reality's disruption in the first place. Again, that playlist will get you caught up on what all that means. But the response of Tony Stark here is, one thing we do need to account for is they may have a superpowered asset nearby. Now, we don't know what that means. We don't know who it's going to be. There's no way for us to know. So we have to stay on our guard. Otherwise, they will overtake us. And so ultimately, what ends up happening is they open the facility. And when they do, there's no one there. Instead, when they step through the door, they end up in Kunlun. Now, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with this, Kunlun is such an awesome concept, right? So kind of sidetrack this for a second, give me like a couple minutes, right? It's really, really cool, you're gonna love it. In Marvel Comics, right, you guys have like the main Marvel Universe, right? Earth and so on and so forth. You guys are aware of alternate dimensions. Well, Kunlun is one of the 7 capital cities of heaven. So there's actually 6 other locations that are part of that capital city. They're basically individual dimensions. None of them interact except for once every 88 years. And then they host the tournament of the Immortal Weapons. Iron Fist traditionally comes from Kunlun, which means when they get in here and they see the Hulk sitting there, it means the Hulk has accessed one of the 7 capital cities. He's in Kunlun. What this would mean is that the Ultimate Hulk would have the Iron Fist. And the Iron Fist is capable of punching through virtually anything. Now, something to understand here, it basically complements the Hulk's powers. It doesn't replace them. So for those of you guys who are worried that like the Hulk's gonna be super weak, no, man. This guy is about to unleash hell on the superheroes. It's amazing, right? So the funny thing is when they get in here, the Hulk's not like this crazy rage thing. It's one of the things I love about the modern depiction of the Hulk in the Ultimate Universe. In the original Ultimate Universe, he was just like this crazed guy who would like eat people and he tore Wolverine in half. And don't get me wrong, it was amazing, right? It was everything you ever wanted to see from just like a crazy, psychotic, Incredible Hulk. This guy, as you can tell, is a lot more centered, but do not let that trick you into believing that this guy is easily defeatable, not by any standard of measurement. Because the first thing that happens is She-Hulk goes running in, right? And she literally goes in here, tries to throw a punch. The Incredible Hulk makes it to the last one, right? He's just like, no, 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 no. Let me help you understand your place in the bigger picture. This dude channels the Iron Fist and just clocks this girl and sends her flying. So She-Hulk's out of the picture, right? Not that she ever stood a chance in the first place. This dude sits back down and is like, let's have some more tea. What does that say, man? An Incredible Hulk who's got the Iron Fist, right? He clocks what's arguably the strongest character here and is back home in time for tea. That just tells you something. Now, of course, Doctor Doom is monitoring all of this because he's kind of like the intelligence side of everything that Reed and them have going. The signal's cut, so he can't see anything. And that's when he's just like, so this is not what we expected it to be. Something's going on here. And so a lot of the background theme here is going to be him trying to kind of go through and figure out a way to make contact and so on and so forth. But the ultimate Avengers, right, not the sharpest tools in the shed, are like, we can't get out. We're stuck. Well, yeah, of course you are. Like, why would he bring you here and then give you a means to just easily leave? Like, I mean, come on. Like, of course the door is sealed behind you, right? He's on some Harry Potter stuff. And so what he does is he says, I've brought you to heaven, the immortal city of Kunlun to be precise. I rule all 7 of heaven's capital cities. What does that make me, do you suppose? Right, and where Iron Man just kind of tries to talk a little bit of trash, right? He was like, don't be afraid of him. There's 10 of us, there's only 1 of him. That he says, no. You should be honored, right? It is not often that terrorists are permitted entrance to heaven. But for you, I made special arrangements. And so what we find out, or again, kind of building on what I told you earlier, right? Each one of the capital cities has their own immortal weapon. Ultimate Hulk has assembled them all. And understand here, right? These folks are incredibly dangerous. To give you a matter of perspective, right? Each one of these immortal weapons, depending on the circumstance and how the writing's done, would be a legitimate contender to almost any of the Avengers in the main Marvel universe. There are, of course, a few exceptions when you look at like the traditional immortal weapon. What makes these guys so incredibly dangerous is that what they do is they carry Banner's irradiated blood in a syringe with them and they inject themselves. And when they do, it basically allows them to temporarily become their own versions of Incredible Hulks. It's amping up, right? Essentially, these guys like inject themselves and become like upper rank demons. It's amazing, right? Because you have like Decay's beautiful daughter, Fat Cobra, which is just like the most Kurosawa name I've ever heard. Uranium Brother 235, Prince of Meltdowns, Bride of 9 World Breakers, Crane Mother of the Womb, right? I mean, they're all named after the traditional immortal weapons that you would normally see in the main Marvel universe. But still, like, it is incredible to see these guys going absolutely nuts and to see them take on these names. Because ultimately, like, where Hulk's just kind of been like, look, we should just have some tea, right? It's a quick death. It's a flower that is bloomed only here in Kunlun. You could take it, you could die. It would just be much better than the alternative, which is to get beat to death by my hands and the hands of the guys that work for me. But ultimately, like, once he realizes there's no way for this to end in a peaceful resolution, he just kind of stands up and he's like, the tea's gone cold, right? And so ultimately, like, that's when it's like, let's get to it now. And that's exactly, son, right? That's what Ultimate Hulk does, right? This dude just stands up, rolls up his sleeves, and he's like, well, let's get to it now. And like, that fight just starts happening. And it's amazing because the first person he goes after is Iron Man. Now, it is a genius maneuver because despite the fact that Captain America is historically the guy who rallies together soldiers and things like that, Iron Man is the leader of the Ultimates. If you take him out, they're all unified under his banner. With no Iron Man, there really isn't anybody to unify them. They'll all just end up going their separate ways, assuming they even survive at all. Now, of course, you have like them going after, Captain America and so on and so forth, but none of these guys really stand a legitimate chance here. And in fact, what you do is you pick up with Doctor Doom, who's like, okay, Avalon, Asgard, even hell itself, the Ultimates network is active in all of them. Communication between non-continuous space-time is difficult, yes, but not impossible. And he basically makes contact with like Iron Man's suit. And what it does is it allows him to basically access the video feed from Iron Man, and that's when he realizes everything that's going on there. Now, back to this battle at hand, son. Not even in hell would you see a massacre like this. Because while the Ultimates are able to put up a fight, the reality here is it's almost like they're just kind of being backed into a corner by just overwhelming forces. Because here, you're not just fighting one Hulk and some guys who are comparable to him. You're fighting 7 incredible Hulks, each with varying degrees of strength, and all of which are stronger than all the superheroes who are here. So it is amazing. And so like the whole time, like Ultimate Hulk is just dishing out these amazing monologues, right? He's like, you call yourselves heroes. You are children living out your adolescent power fantasies. I will teach you about real power and about the real world. And he says, I have studied the teachings of the great enlightened masters and reduced 5,000 years of wisdom to 3 perfect words: peace through strength. This is my message. This is the savage truth that I bring you. There is no such thing as heroes. What we have accomplished is a miracle. Out of chaos, we made harmony, and the people love us for it. Look how we are loved. And so literally he's just got like Iron Man basically on his knees, right? There's nothing Iron Man can do to escape here. Janet Van Dyne gets eaten, which is actually a great callback to Ultimatum. I don't know if you guys remember that, the Ultimatum event in the original Ultimate Universe, when the Blob ate Wasp, like, and this time, like, she actually died. Like, the dude just ate her and killed her, chewed her up. Like, it was pretty brutal. And so the Hulk says, I wonder if Gandhi ever felt this way. Now, one of the best things about this comic as well is that they really do go Demon Slayer, right? Like, they like give these amazing names for like these maneuvers that like the villains are doing, and then they tell you like what the maneuvers are. So he just like hammers Iron Man, and it's called 2 times Atomic Fist, 32 Hiroshima's level. Like, dude, I love the way this is done. It really does feel like Demon Slayer, right? So then you switch over to Dr. Doom, and he says, use the signal as the bridge. Stark Tech gives precise locations in high dimensional space. Do not forget to compensate for idiosyncratic physics and flow of time. Interdimensional shear will be a problem. And so literally what Dr. Doom is trying to do here is, of course, trying to get them back. But understand, remember his origin, right? Like, his inability to save the Fantastic Four is the thing that haunts him. And that's what he's trying to prevent here. If he does not succeed, everybody dies, and there's no way to stop it. Not only that, one of the coolest things here, right? Like when Janet Van Dyne gets eaten and you have like Fat Cobra who's here, you have like Giant Man who goes after him, but remember, Giant Man's strength is proportional to his size. And so even though he is immensely tall, his strength is still not on the same level as Fat Cobra. So literally Fat Cobra blocks his punch, but then immediately starts like coughing up blood, only for like Janet Van Dyne to burst out of the sky, which is amazing, right? And so again, you switch back over to Dr. Doom, where he says, signal strength degrading, total signal loss estimated in 7 seconds. And he says 7 seconds and 7,000 unknowns. One mistake and everyone is dead again. And so you switch back over to Hulk, right? Ever delivering these just phenomenal monologues in this whole thing. That's why I say, son, this story is so amazing. He says, I thank you. Blowing up pipelines, destabilizing power grids, burning down the White House. You've only driven them deeper into our arms. Nothing makes one crave the status quo quite like a violent threat to it. Of course, a few will be inspired. A few always are. But most will be afraid. Afraid of chaos. Afraid of change. Afraid of losing what little they have. In time, they'll come to wonder if the Ultimates ever truly existed, if the whole thing was not some elaborate conspiracy, and if you didn't really work for us all along. In a way, I suppose you did. Rest now, little Stark. You've earned it. And he literally just crushes the suit of Iron Man with his bare hands. Now, this is a great callback to Original Sin, if you guys remember that story, when the Incredible Hulk learned the truth or felt like he learned the truth. One of the coolest secrets that Marvel revealed that almost nobody knows about is that when Bruce Banner was originally working on the Gamma experiment, he was actually working on it with Tony Stark. And Tony Stark had like analyzed the information of Banner, and if my headcanon serves me correctly, that he had analyzed the information and realized it was wrong. But because Bruce Banner wanted to show that he was intelligent as Tony Stark, he ignored all of Tony Stark's notes and adjustments. And so Banner goes through with the experiment, and Banner becomes the Incredible Hulk. So if he had listened to Tony Stark, he never would have become the Hulk. Now, that was in the main Marvel universe, right? This again is, of course, the Ultimate Universe. But it was this great little callback to like that phenomenal story in that side of Marvel Comics. But at the end of the day, he just says, in the end, you were our best little soldier. Because there's a point in Original Sin, right, where like Iron Man puts on the Hulkbuster suit and like the Incredible Hulk just comes like busting into the room. And Tony Stark looks at him knowing this Hulkbuster suit is going to do nothing. And he's just like, ever the optimist, Tony, ever the optimist. And like literally Incredible Hulk just folds him up like a tin can. And that's exactly what happens here, man. So like She-Hulk jumps in, right? She-Hulk goes on the attack again. And the Incredible Hulk's like, did you learn nothing? Did you learn nothing from our last fight, right? She's like, everything, you destroy everything, which is enough. And he's like, I'm impressed. In a different world, your spirit might count for something, but this is not that world. Take heart. Your defeat here will avoid a wider conflict. Your sacrifice saves millions of lives. In truth, dying will be the most heroic thing the Ultimates have ever done. And so literally at that moment, right, when her hand's like ripped off, right, by Bruce, like when in that moment, Dr. Doom channels the energy of Tony Stark's suit and snatches everybody back, right? In what is effectively a massively failed mission. And so it's just like, nope, this is it. It's too late. Iron Lad is dead. The Ultimate Hulk killed Tony Stark. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this video to an end. I told you it was dope. Son. I told you, man, it's amazing. I gotta tell you guys, man, I'll be honest, I don't know what's going on in the comic book scene right now. Literally, the Ultimate Universe is better than what's happening in the main Marvel Universe at Marvel, and the Absolute Universe is better than what's happening in the main universe at DC, man. Alternate realities are more interesting than their main universe counterparts. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. As always, click this video to get caught up, and I will catch you all later. Peace.